let's begin at the beginning, where the story begins.
Okay.
Anya and Mr. Rankin, you misplaced or lost your award. It's a very important award to you. Tell us about the award first. What was the award for?
I risked my life saving someone else's life. But I was called and informed that a boat had run ashore in the rocks. I was doing construction at the time. So I ended up going up there and investigate. And it was a spectacle. There was a lot of people shouting and carrying on, but nobody was trying to do anything about it. I worked my way through the crowd, down close to the boat, and I saw this gentleman, or this man floating across the boat, going toward the stern of the boat. And somehow I said to the guys that were there, I said, you guys got to do something. You can't stand here and this man die, you know. If somebody don't get in there, he's going to die. Nobody didn't pay me no mind. So I jumped up on the big rope and I, like a spider, and I got up on the boat. And he couldn't talk or nothing. He was like, can't talk. And at that time, that's when the other guy drifted across from south to north on the port side of the boat. And I was trying to get the rope tied around the gentleman when a big wave came in and knocked me over to the port side of the ship. And I thought at that time that was the end of me, but it didn't happen because another wave came just behind that one and pushed me right back where I started. So I held on, I tied myself against the bow, the gunwale of the boat, and I harnessed this guy, this white guy, and tied him up good and got him over the side of the boat. And when they were taking him off, a sea came and took me and slammed me to the other side again. 2 times. I got my conscience back and whatnot, and I got the man over the railing and they slide him. That's when Mr. Fisher, that's when he came in the picture.
Oh, okay.
He helped him slide down on the rope. At that time, we had shouting going on in the stern of the boat that Miss
Oliver
Hill had saved this man from drowning, which I couldn't understand. I couldn't understand that at all, and I didn't know what to really say about it, so I had nothing to say about it. But they had that section of the report, like kind of on truth. See, when he pulled the man out of the water, the man was already dead.
Oh, wow.
And they got in the news, they said he swam 30 yards or something. But that, he didn't even go in the water. He got his pants leg wet, but that was it. So it was a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
But it turned out nicely. We got the man off. The ambulance came and took him away, and I have not seen that man from that day till today. I don't know who he was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So where did this all happen?
Right in the Paradise Restaurant. Right on the rock there by Paradise Restaurant.
So fast forward, you were actually awarded for your heroic
Yeah.
and bravery,
Yes.
act of bravery.
Yeah.
What did you think of that when that happened?
Well, I thought it was sort of an important thing because me as being Mr. Nobody out there, I'll get my breath now.
It's okay.
I was never caught up in the problem like that I would be on the television or on a microphone or asking questions or whatnot, so it was all strange to me.
You never sought recognition for anything that you did.
Yeah.
He's very humble. He that's not his only rescue. He's rescued a lot of people. He's performed a lot of community service acts over the years. I mean, I can recall incidents where storms were coming, the roads were flooded, and people's cars they were trapped in their cars, stalled in the water. Cars were bobbing, and Daddy had always had a Ford truck. At every point in his life, he owned a Ford truck, and he put the truck up behind the car and pushed it out of the water, and just everyday things like that. He's always being called upon to assist with, helping someone, repairing a house, doing this, doing that. And he's never, ever been a person to seek any type of recognition or reward. People have offered to pay him, they ask him to come to ceremonies so they can give him certificates and thank yous, and he will not go. And eventually people find the house and they come and they say, oh, this is for your dad. He was supposed to attend so-and-so and he didn't. And here's his thank you. He just likes helping people. I think the only thing that I can recall ever in all my life that he really enjoys limelight and spectacle is when he's performing, because he's a singer as well. So he likes to be in that spotlight, but outside of that he doesn't want any type of recognition. So although I wasn't around when this incident happened, because this occurred on December 23rd, 1971, he was contacted in May of 1972 when Mr. Hill and Mr. Fisher were told that they would be getting these awards from the Royal Humane Society. And the awards were then presented in October of 1972 by the captain of one of the UK Navy ships, Navy frigates that was visiting. The name of the gentleman escapes me right now, but we can get that. So Commodore Rusby, that was his name. And so he actually presented the award to Daddy and the gentleman. And I am surprised, for what I know about my dad, that he actually went to receive the award. But I think he must have realized how important this one was. So he got that award, and from the day he got it, he attached it or hung it on the wall above the front door in his home, because he's owned his home and lived in it now for over 50 years. I think Daddy built that house when he was about 19 or 20. Yeah. And he was about 25 when this happened. So he put the award over the front door, and it remained there. And everybody that would come by, of course you don't see it when you're walking in, but when you're walking out, everybody would see it and they would stop and they would ask about it, and he would gladly tell the story. And then it was just the funniest thing. Hurricane Ivan occurred. We didn't stay in Daddy's house for Hurricane Ivan. He didn't feel that it was safe because it was an older house at that point. And he lives in Windsor Park, which is a low-lying area, even though his home is built up a bit. So he secured his home, packed up, and he went to stay with his brother Philip in Lower Valley, which actually turned out to be worse. Like, that area got, much more flooding than his home. So when we all got back to the house, the damage was minimal. Some of the roof had gotten damaged, some, sheetrock and stuff had fallen in. But it was the weirdest thing. Nothing was missing out of the house. No jewelry, no electronics, no clothes, no shoes, no appliances. But this award was gone. It was gone. So we searched, we looked in everything. We thought maybe it had fallen down and someone had come by and, picked it up. We asked everybody if they'd seen it. We went through everything, when the house was being cleaned up and stuff. And that was 2004. That award never resurfaced. Wow.
So that was in 1971 when he was part of the rescue. But when did you first hear the story?
I can remember Daddy telling me the story. I'm born in 1982, telling my age now. But I can remember Daddy telling me the story as early as being about 6 or 7 years old. I did live in my dad's home for some of my formative years. And even after I stopped living there full time, I continued to be there on weekends, after school, summers. It was always my second home. I still consider it home. So I can remember being a little girl and looking up, and I saw something about Queen Elizabeth on this award, and I was like, Daddy, what's that? So he picked me up, held me up, showed it to me. We read it together, and I said, but how did you get that? And he told me the story. So from that age, I immediately understood how important this was to him, and I was totally impressed that, my dad had done this heroic thing. To get an award, that's affiliated with the Queen, that was a big deal, because I think Queen Elizabeth had come to visit Somewhere in that time span, I think she'd come like in 1988, 1992, somewhere around there. And then Princess Alexandra had come as well. So we were, and I was attending St. Ignatius school. So of course we had learned all about the royal family and how important they are, and that we're part of, we're under the UK, that sort of stuff. And so I grew up having my real life hero. And anybody that knows me knows how I feel about my dad, knows that, he's always been the most important person to me. But to actually know that, people can say, oh, my dad's my hero, but they haven't really done anything heroic. But to know that my father actually did something and got this award. So it's a story that stuck with me all my life. So I felt the loss and the hurt when this award went missing, because it was one of those things, almost like a photograph or an old heirloom. You couldn't, or we thought you couldn't replace it. And I would always say to him, every couple of months or so, Daddy, I found your award, your certificate didn't turn up. And, no, Anipo, search, can't find it. And, I'd always see him, sometimes he'd come walking to get ready to go out, and he'd just stop, and I'd see him looking up at it. And as I got older, I kept saying, I would love to be able to find this award. It's got to be buried somewhere in this house. And I searched and I dug and I went through everything. And when I realized that it was really, really gone, then I started thinking, I wonder how I can possibly replace this award. But I did not remember that this award had come from the Royal Humane Society. That was what was preventing me from doing any kind of research. I knew that this was an award he had gotten in the 70s, and I remembered the event, but I couldn't remember who had given it to him. I couldn't remember the exact date, and unfortunately neither could Daddy, because his memory escapes him, the older he gets. So I kept saying if there was anything I could do to get this award, I would do it. And then lo and behold, I found the article the day on Facebook, courtesy of Miss Andrea Martinez, and my search began.
Wow, what an incredible story. So, Mr. Rankin, when Anya told you that she could possibly do something to get your award back for you, how did you feel?
I don't think they are today.
I kind of kept it a surprise. I said to him one day in a conversation that I was looking into, seeing if I could get any information about his award,
Right.
but I left it at that.
Okay.
So he was just kind of like, oh, that would be nice. We were having a conversation with my brother and sister and my brother-in-law. He says, yeah, that would be nice. And my sister, who's 10 years younger than I am, she'd never known this story. Of course, she was, I think she was 12 years old or about that age when Hurricane Ivan hit, when the award went missing. So it wasn't something that she had ever really paid attention to. So when she was like, what award? And I said, the one that used to be up there. And she's like, what? Where? And, so we told her the story then.
Yeah.
And then she was like, oh, Dad, that's really cool. And yeah, that would be nice. So, he was just kind of smiling, reminiscing, telling us the story, but he really didn't dwell on it too much, because at that point, we just had that conversation about 4 or 5 months ago. At that point now, the award had been gone for, 15, 16 years?
Yeah.
So I think Daddy had given up any kind of hope of ever seeing it again.
Yeah.
And I knew how deep I was in my research with Samuel Rose and Christy Watland Protocol Office. Bless them. I cannot thank them enough. But I kept saying I don't want to get his hopes up, and then I don't follow through.
Right.
And also I said, Daddy doesn't like gifts, and he doesn't need anything. He's done very well for himself, so anything that he's ever wanted, he's bought it for himself over the years. So he doesn't like us to get him anything. He doesn't need anything. He doesn't want anything. So every year for his birthday, it becomes more and more difficult trying to find a gift. So I made up my mind that whatever time I got this award, I was keeping it a secret, because it was going to be his next birthday gift, which is what I did. He got it for his birthday this year.
So, Mr. Alden, when you found out that you were given the award that you had lost in Ivan, or that disappeared in Ivan, how did you feel?
I can't explain how I felt because I was torn between two events. She surprised, my birthday party was a surprise, and I didn't like that. But that's the second time I did it. And I was cursing myself because how did I fall for this? You know? The first time, okay, you know that. The second time around, they did it again. And I fell for it. And my girlfriend is driving the car and she's saying, oh honey, we gotta go look at the lights up at Captain Theo. Look at lights? What the hell I gotta look at lights for? I don't want to look at no lights. And she kept putting me off on different things, killing time to get before we go to the surprise party. Yeah. Up until we drove right to the building, I said, that looked like Daddy's car. What is Daddy doing up here? And my father now. I still not pay no mind because she's all over the place having dinner. But then when I saw my brother Gerald outside, and he can't hide nothing, say, they trick you again. You know. And they sure did. It was a total surprise. And I tell you, the feeling that is unexplainable. Yeah. Knowing that I worried about that award so many years.
Oh, Mr. Eldon.
Cry, Daddy.
You're all crying over here.
Cry, Daddy.
It's okay, Mr. Eldon. Take your time. Take your time.
It was quite a surprise, believe you me. And like I said, I felt good about that part, but I felt bad about the part that they tricked me again. And I'm not supposed to be tricked so easy. But because
You don't know how crafty your child is.
I didn't have the slightest idea that Anya was working on anything for all 3 years.
2.
2 years, I knew nothing of it. Nothing. So when it was presented to me that night, I felt quite good and happy because it's something that got lost and now it's found. And I don't know who gave Anya the courage or the willpower to, to pursue it, but she did.
Yeah.
So I don't make nothing past her anymore.
So now that you have the award, is it back in the same spot where it was, or do you have it somewhere now that's closer to you?
No, it's going back in the same spot. Same spot that's where it's supposed to be. I haven't installed it yet because the little arm broke off it that is standing up by.
It broke?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, we have no luck with frames.
But the frame itself is already just a little arm that holds it up.
Okay.
Well, it's going to go on the wall anyway. You don't need the back piece.
It's
really.
going right back where the first. I got one there now, one with the attached rope.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take that down, and I'm gonna put that right back up there.
So it right now it's on his. You know, in older Caymanian houses, you have the formal dining room that nobody uses,
Yeah.
and then the regular eating space.
Yeah.
So right now it's on the formal dining table, the proper glass table that none of us could ever touch or eat at. So it's there, and I have no luck. I gave him the framed article from the Nor'wester magazine. I framed that and gave that to him for his birthday last year, since I didn't have the award yet.
Right.
I broke the frame the night of his dinner as I was presenting it to him. Burst out crying. He told me, don't worry, he would go have the glass replaced.
Yeah.
Fast forward to this year, I put the award in an identical frame to the one from last year. It broke as we opened it. I said, okay, clearly I have no luck with these frames. I went back to the place and I said, okay, I need a different type of frame. This is not going to work.
Yeah.
So we got one of the really nice award frames with the stand, like what he's talking about. So I actually positioned it on the dining table because, as he said, in the space above the front door now, he put another photo that is really special to him. It's a photo of the Merco, which is one of the ships that used to travel back and forth between Cayman and Jamaica. And My mother actually was looking for a photo of the Merco because that is the ship that brought her father, mother, herself, and her older siblings to Cayman from Jamaica when they migrated. In her search for a photo of the Merco, the photo that she found just happened to have my father working on the, what was that, Daddy, like the dock? They were loading thatch rope onto the Merco to be shipped out, for export. And she got the photo and she said, "But wait, this is Eldon." And she enlarged it and she said, "Yeah, this is Eldon." And she took it to him. He said, "Yeah, that's me." And so she enlarged it, framed it, gave it to him. This was a few years ago. So he put that in the space because that also meant something to him. But now it's lost its space. Okay. It's being removed. Okay. So,
anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Eldon?
It's hard because I had never pride myself with anything. It's very hard. I know what happened was something good because I actually saved that dead man's life. The only thing that I felt kind of fun about is that I never saw him after that. I never heard whether he lived or he died or whatever, I don't know what to think. The whole thing was an ordeal, and it was amazing that more people didn't get hurt. And I felt so good that I had saved that man's life because he was going to die. No, maybe perhaps. The other guy that I saw going down across the ship, he had already drowned because he came off another ship, not the one that was against the rock. And I couldn't sleep for months and months, knowing that I saw that man drifting in the water and mistook him for the one that I had taken off the boat. And he died. I don't know whether he died before I saw him or after I saw him. Yeah. So that hurt me. Otherwise, everything went all right.
Okay. Anya, do you have anything final to say?
Well, my daddy knows how I feel about him, but I just want to take this opportunity to say every child has a hero, and they're usually fixated on, something fictional, some type of superhero that they've seen on TV or, read about in a book. I've been extremely fortunate. My entire life, my hero has been my dad. And I just want to tell my dad how proud I am of him for not only what he did back in 1971, which is just his character. It's not even like it's a strange thing. Even at my dad's age now, if it happened again, he'd do it all over again. But I'm so proud of him for just the man and the father that he is. And, he's been so phenomenal to me, my siblings, my children, my nieces, nephews, our entire lives. And everything we need, everything we've wanted, he's taken care of it. I have so many friends who either don't have the benefit of knowing their fathers or don't have the benefit of a relationship with their fathers, because we all know that in the Caribbean, children are predominantly raised in single parent homes, mostly, by the mother. And even though my parents, their relationship ended when I was a little girl, I never once, not one time in my life, went without my dad. He was present for everything, and he still is. And it's really, really hard to be able to show your gratitude or to repay someone when they are that important to you and play such an integral role in your life. And I will never live long enough to be able to thank my dad for everything. But to be able to get this award for him meant
the absolute world to me, because it was, I just felt like finally, here is something that I can do that will mean so much to him, which will just be a small token in comparison to all that he's done for me and for our families. So as I started out saying, every child has a hero, whether real or fictional, but I have been extremely fortunate because my hero has always been my dad. And he's not a fictional hero. Like, I had the advantage of saying he's a real life hero. Like, he actually did something very heroic, and we now have an award again to show for it. And I am just so grateful to Samuel Rose and Christy Watler from the protocol office. I could not have done this without them. This search took 23 months, and it was grueling. It was emails back and forth. It was dead ends. I had to provide documents and proof and articles, things that I didn't even know where to get them from. And I had to dig, and I had to do research, and then I had to pay a draft. I had to submit this draft for payment, and then it took so long, and then the person in the UK went AWOL. So then the draft ended up being refunded to me almost a year later because, they couldn't get through, and they felt so responsible, and they said, they didn't want to take my money knowing that they didn't come back with anything in the time frame that they thought they would have. And Samuel and Christy never gave up, and they continued. And even when their contact went missing, even when they couldn't get any answers, and I kept emailing and messaging by WhatsApp and calling, and they were so polite to me every time. And it was hard every time to hear, we don't have anything for you yet, don't have any answers yet, no new leads as yet. And I felt like my hands were tied because I'd done everything that I'd been asked to do. I'd submitted everything. I'd paid the money. I'd given the information. And all I wanted was to be able to get this award, to give it back to my dad before anything happened. I wish that my dad would live for another 50 years. I'd love that more than anything. But we all know that death is a natural part of life, and we don't know when, anything is going to happen. And I don't like when people are only thought of or awarded after their death. Yes, it's great for their families, but for the individual, they know nothing about it. I'm a very firm believer that if you want to honor someone or reward someone, do it when they are alive, that they can appreciate it. And so the most important thing for me was that I got this award back in my dad's living years because I wanted him to physically see, feel, touch, and own this award once again. And when, the 23 months went by and it felt like it was never going to happen, I was hurt, I was sad, I was disappointed. I didn't know where else to turn. I even attempted to contact the Royal Humane Society on my own. That was such a monumental task because you have to have all these IDs and credentials and this and that just to basically get through the door with them. And I realized I wasn't going to be able to do anything on my own. It had to be through our protocol office. And, I sent what I thought was going to be my final email to Sam and Christy. I think that was on the 7th of December, 2019. And I'd given up. I honestly had given up, and I don't give up easily, but I just felt like, we've exhausted every possible avenue. This is done. And I sent the email. I didn't get a reply, and it was very unlike them to not reply to me. And I think about 5 or 6 days later, I got a phone call. No, I got a WhatsApp message first from Samuel asking me if I could come in to the office. Well, he didn't realize that I no longer live in Grand Cayman. So I said, Sam, this is such bad timing because I've just left Grand Cayman yesterday. Unfortunately, I can't come in. I don't know, when I'll be back. And he said, okay, well, we've had some new developments and I wanted to share it with you in person. He says, I'll give you a call later when I think it's convenient. No problem. And I was at home making hot dogs for my children's Christmas concert at the Civic Center, the Aston Ruddy Civic Center, and I was doing the hot dogs as part of the Year 6 fundraiser. So I'm in the kitchen and I'm like still in house clothes. My hair's a mess, I'm sweaty, I'm like, wrapping all these hot dogs in foil paper, whatever, and my phone rings and my kids are like, Mom, your phone. I'm like, I don't have time to deal with the phone now. Mommy, it's a video call. Now, nobody calls me on video. So I was like, this gotta be good. So I grabbed the phone and I see Samuel Rose. I'm like, Sam calling me on video? So I propped the phone up in the kitchen and I answered it and I'm like, hi Sam. I said, listen, sorry if I don't look at you directly, but I'm making these hot dogs because I'm rushing trying to get to the Christmas concert. But go ahead. And he says, well, Masanya, sorry if I caught you at a bad time, Mom, but me and Miss Christie are sitting here and we wanted to call you. And I was like, oh God, don't do this to me now. Because I'm thinking they're calling to tell me formally now, the search is over, we can't find it. And I'm like, I don't need to hear this right now when I'm trying to get my kids ready for their Christmas concert. And I braced myself and the camera switched and I just see Christy sitting there smiling, holding this award. And I hear Sam in the background saying, Anya, we did it. We got it. Miss Donna, let me tell you something. Hot dogs went, they dropped. I screamed out so loud. My kids could not, they thought something had happened to me. They all came running. They're like, Mommy, what happened? And I'm like, shh, go away. And I burst into absolute, unbridled, raw cowball tears. Like when you ugly cry? I ugly cried for like 10 minutes. Christy even got like little, water in her eyes because I was bawling. I couldn't even get my words out. That was by far one of the most emotional days of my life. I thought becoming a mother, getting married, death of loved ones, I thought that all those things took the most emotion out of you. That day was, I have no words to explain it. And I have no words to fully explain the debt of gratitude that I have to Samuel Rose and Christy Waltler for their 23 months of unrelenting searching and getting that award back to me to give to my dad. And for them, they were probably just doing their job. They will never understand what they did for me, what they've done for my father. They will never understand that they are two amazing civil servants and two amazing human beings. And if neither of them ever does anything else that they think is great for the rest of their lives, the two of them need to know what they did for my dad and I is beyond anything that I can describe. And I also have to thank Miss Andrea Martinez Calderon because it was her Facebook article that started everything. And Miss Andrea maintains a pristine mint condition collection of Nor'Wester magazines. And this article was featured in one of those magazines. And she allowed me to actually take that magazine out of her possession. And I had it for months in an attempt to get it copied because I wanted to get it bound again as a magazine, and I wasn't successful in doing that, so I ended up just getting it copied from cover to cover and gave it back to her in the same condition. But bless her for allowing me that opportunity, and for trusting me, someone that she never had a conversation with. She knew who I was, she knew my family, but she never had a conversation with me, and she trusted me with that magazine that means the world to her. So I thank her for that. And I also have to say thank you to one of my dad's friends, Mr. Dwight Panton, who no longer lives in Cayman, but he's a member of the Old Cayman group on Facebook, as well as Mrs. Terry Marin. I've never met her. I think I know who her children are, but she's also a member of that group. And when I was looking for evidence of and photos and stuff, to go along with this award, it was Mrs. Marin and Mr. Panton that retrieved that photo from Miss Nancy Watler's collection and sent it to me. And that's the photo of the Gulf Star crashed on the iron shore. And lo and behold, there is my father sitting on the iron shore looking at the boat. And I couldn't believe my luck, how everything just started to fall into place. So all of these people did very small things to them, but it was very huge. They played very huge parts in getting this whole story together for my dad and I. So I'm very grateful to all of them. And I love you, Daddy.
Love you too. I'm
Well,
I'm not going to change. She's going to see to that.
he's never getting rid of me. Never getting rid of me.